Hey everybody, we're gonna take another whack at this once again about the sporting leagues and everything. I just had a recent poll that asked you guys if you think that track and field is a professional sport or not, because there are some people on YouTube and other social media that are saying that it's not a professional sport. And I was like, since the 1980s at the very least, it's been a professional sport. Maybe people are saying that the leagues that are there are not paying enough, right? Now that's the argument, but most of you tend to agree that it is a professional sport. Technically speaking, it is. Tennis is a professional sport as of 1968, asterisk mark, because it was a little bit before or after, but at least the ruling that they had is a professional sport from that point. So without further ado, we're going to take a whack at this and see what we can do to streamline this, make it where it reaches a larger amount of people so that the sport continues to grow. We see more things there. So you're watching Head and Shoulders ATR, where we cover athletes, performances, and otherwise that are head and shoulders above the rest. And like always, stay blessed. Although, yeah, her ban is extended. Also, stay rich. We don't know how long that's going to be lasting. And I'm Nick, your host. So, look, like I said, you see the title. We're talking about boxing or UFC, the track and field way. So how do we kind of do this? Well, you look at boxing, right? Similar with UFC, but I'm going to combine elements of both. So you look at boxing and you look at the ranking system and you see how they're ranked. Right now, okay, you get a ranking system based on time. You see this right here, the top times right there. Okay, that's what people know. But there's also another ranking system that World Athletics IAAF already has, where you have a score right here and it ranks you where you're at. It's the current world ranking positions, highest world rank positions that she's ever had. So she's been ranked number one and in the 200 and 100 in the world. Now the crazy thing is, this is Dina Asher Smith, by the way. So she's been ranked number one in the women's 200. And you can't see it here on the screen. Let me see if I can pull it up. No, it doesn't look like it. But this women's ranking right here, if you go to their website onto the far right, I don't want to grab the screen here. I like the position it's in. She was ranked number one in the world for 111 weeks in the women's 200 and ranked number one in the world in the women's 100 for 13 weeks. And she was ranked number two in the world for 96 weeks for the women's overall ranking. Now, many of you are going to be like, wait a minute, what? I know she was world champion in the 200 and she got a medal in the 100 at the world championships, but how did she rank that high? Well, it comes off to their point system. What races she's winning, when she shows up, who she's I would say, and the times that you're running. So there are all types of point systems that they're doing, and based on the times that everybody else is running that year. You know, 2018 was a little bit of a weaker year overall for many athletes and everything like that. You know, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price with her baby and whatnot. So that could explain something in the 100. And then other athletes. That's good. The problem is, here's the problem. We don't hear what they're ranked about. They don't say it in these broadcasts. They don't say it. You don't hear the British announcers saying it. You don't see the American, Australian. None of them are saying it. The Chinese, the Spanish-speaking audiences. I listen to different audios or whatever, and as much as I can understand and try to get somebody that's nearby to translate, they don't mention these. So what we can do is we can emphasize and drop all of this. Let's say that we just stripped all of the nationality. Let's say we keep it. This is what I propose. This is what I propose. We do it this way. Oh, before I get into that, let's go over here. Currently, here's the prize pool. Here's the prize pool right here. Now, remember, the Diamond League used to be a $40,000. And of course, the Golden League was even more than that, but they had only 6 meets instead of 12. Okay, now we got 12. So it doubled the amount of meets. So it's more appearances overall. And it used to be like a $1 million cash prize pot that they would share and whatnot. and then it went down to each meet is basically about $420,000, give or take, or whatever. And there you go. Not only this, but each one, instead of being paid $12,000 for a win, you get paid $10,000. All right. Now, when I look down here at these specialty events, it's looking at some of these other ones. Now, it says world ranking points. So I'm guessing the ones where you get points in, where you can get ranked in there. Some of them give the full Diamond League's prize money, but the men's hammer throw in Oslo, you only get 50%. I don't know what this 3.2 is. Maybe that's 3,200 euros or dollars or something. So that means the men's Paris, whatever, the winner only gets that. Or is it 3.2 times? I don't know. This is based out of Europe. So I'm going to guess that this is a comma that I would use. So then same thing here, 10,000, maybe that's the total. I don't understand what those mean. If somebody does, let me know. But it's very interesting that some of these athletes only get half of the Diamond League prize money. And they point it out here for competing and winning in some of these events, whether it is the women's 100-meter hurdles and all of that. So after they lowered this from 40,000 to 30,000, they might not be doing as well as people think. So you got to also consider that. And the final thing I'll get into before we go here is this. Okay, now people look at tennis. A lot of people like to compare us to tennis and other things. We could do the same thing for boxing, but I want to bring in tennis because I was talking to my best friend. He's saying track and field is not a professional sport. He's kind of a fan of, he likes what somebody else is putting out that said track and field is not a professional sport. And I vehemently disagree with that. It is a professional sport. It just may not be making as much money or organized or doing things as well as other ones, but it is a professional sport. So here are the average numbers, 113,000, okay? But it says this is the average. The numbers are deceiving. 195 of those tennis players actually make above $100,000 per year. Now, that's 13%. That's doing pretty well still. Okay. Now, when you look at that chart, it's actually like up to 35. The top 35 make $1 million or more. Then the next 20 or so are still making, well, the next 40 to 50 or so are making above 200,000. So to me, I'm looking at these millionaire players personally. I'm just like, okay, why y'all whining for it? Hey, you know what? It is what it is. Why are you whining? But when we're analyzing this and seeing how to grow track and field to get athletes paid more, we got to look at this like this. There are others that it's like 124 that make above $20,000. 76% of all tennis players make below $20,000 a year. To be honest, I'm like, this is very interesting because it says, unlike team sports in North America, tennis players do not have a union. Okay, now remember how they were saying, you know, track and field needs a union. Tennis barely just created a union in 2019. And you see athletes getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. But those are just like the top, like I said, top 35. And those are sponsors that they have. Prize money is a lot of that for those top 35 at $1 million or so. And then the next 10 are close to $1 million. It's just under. Okay, cool. What's the problem here? You get about almost 50 athletes making at $1 million or just below $1 million. Like 900,000 plus. What's the problem? Well, the problem is, I guess they want to be like the other team sports, but it's individual. This is the athletic union for tennis, by the way, PTPA. Now, you're wondering, why am I bringing this up here? Well, I'm about to bring it home after 3 more pages of these. It says something worth fighting for. Now, the title you can't see at the top. It says, fight to the death inside the struggle to survive pro tennis. I think that's a really hyperbole. But when you got people that are advocating for you, they're going to be pushing and pushing and pushing for these people, for the general public to have the sympathy. And then the other people that are in the sport and sponsors to also feel something for it. So they got to use some kind of hyperbole in some ways. And these are the 2 tennis players. Djokovic is still competing right now, matter of fact. I don't know about Vasek, but I know Djokovic is still competing right now. Now, how much do tennis players get paid? Blah, 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 blah. Prize money. makes up the majority of what they pay, and they still get paid even if they lose. $58,000. But here's the kicker. Now, this is about getting money taxed. Before that, so tennis players can keep anything between 55 to 100% of their prize money. So when you see somebody getting a let's say $3.8 million prize, they might only be getting half of that. Because remember, you got to pay your coaches and all of these things. When you're in an individual sport, you have to pay the athletic trainers. You have to pay the coaches, the management staff, and all of that. The league isn't taking care of that for you. That's the thing that's similar to track and field. Now, how does this come here? Let's go over to the Diamond League page, and I'll bring it up here on the screen. Boxing and UFC, the athletics way. Now, remember, I didn't really bring in UFC or boxing here because I think tennis is also appropriate to how the payment is, and UFC and boxing don't seem that apparent. They don't seem that apparent because of, medical things and everything like that. But tennis being safer in general, I think that was a good corollary there. Now, I like the style in which UFC does this. This is what I would do. I don't think you can see it in the back. Let me make this background. Now, you see the champs circle. We got 3 brackets right here. Oh, I did that in the wrong thing. We have 3 brackets that I would qualify us for. We will have something called the champs circle, which is this. And I think I got this twice. That's probably why it is. And then the champ circle, you will have 6 meets. I didn't even realize it was like the Golden League, but it would be 5 qualifiers, 1 title meet. So this is where you get very similar to UFC or boxing. So let's say the top athletes are the only ones that can take the title. You can't have some no name, run somebody that just came out of nowhere and take your title away from you. If you're the world champion, you're only going to face the top athletes. Now, I'm going to throw out a number here, and I understand that people may be watching it and they'll take it, so I won't say everything here. And this may or may not be the number that I use. But let's say that we take the top 32 athletes. We take the top 32 athletes. So let's go back over here to this ranking list. So we would take, and if you're tied with 32, let's just pretend it like this were the ranking right here, except not on time. If we were to take 32 athletes, this will probably be a coin flip between these 3 athletes here. But we're going to stop at 32 or 4 or 5 athletes actually, because here's another German athlete here. Let's just pretend this was not based on time, but based on how many points they get for wins and losses. Okay, great. Those 32 are the only ones that can qualify for the champs circle. We could say another one, Diamond League, right? Champ circle is based on points / your time that you get. There's another bracket that's there that, let's just call it the talented 100. The talented 100. So the 100 next athletes that are not there. And you got to be racing and racing and racing. Now, what else does this make very similar to, let's say, UFC or boxing? Well, if you're one of the top athletes that's in boxing or something like that, let's say the top, 3 or 4, and you got to compete against each other and you lose that rank, now you got to go back to boxing even more. If you got the points and everything, the title contender only has to accept the challenge in a title match probably once a year or something. But guess what? If you're in there, the only people that can take your title would be those top 3, maybe 4. Not some random person ranked in the 1000s or ranked in the 100s or even in the 50s. You can't do that. So this is where we have the cutoff. You got to qualify by getting points through these other leagues and other races. That's how you get to see regular athletes. But everybody else, just like in boxing or even some of the best UFC, boxing, for instance, you prepare for a match. It takes you 60 or 90 days to prepare for a match. So if we have 6 meets, we might have them once a month. We have 1 meet a month. We see our top athletes there. Those athletes are qualifying. Now, here is the thing. Now, we're taking this example here. Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, she's the world champion in the 100. Noah Lyles, world champion in 200. Timothy Chariot in the 1500, and Malika Muhambo in the long jump. Let's say that these 4 athletes right here, let's say this was the league and it was only these 4 events, because I would still reduce the events that you're doing. Okay, if you're having 6 meets, now you can hype up those 6 meets and say, boom, boom, these are the meets that we're watching. Everybody here, you get the pay-per-view thing. I understand a lot of you ask, all in the comment section, and a lot of times in the stream are like, man, I can't see the meet, I can't see the meet. Really, the meets got to be paid for by sponsors and stuff, and I understand why they limit how that's viewed. Track and field may not be getting as much money in these different scenarios that we may think. Diamond League may not be generating as much. Why would they have to lower the prize money from $40,000 to $30,000 at the Diamond League Championship if they were making as much as what you thought? You see that? So we have to look at it this way. Let's say Shelly Ann Fraser-Price and Timothy Chariot. Somebody wanted to challenge them. They could only challenge them at the title meet. How do they get the chance to challenge them? Well, let's say they got to be the top 8. They have to be the top 8 after those 5 qualifier rounds. And those points that you make, they last for up to 2 years. And 50% of the points that you got from one of the meets or from one of the events expires 1 year on the day from where you got it from. So there's a title meet that could potentially be up in the air. It's something that you negotiate with the champion and everything, or the champions. That could be like that, or it's something different. Because remember how Prefontaine was hyped up and hyped up and hyped up? Well, and they created a race for Richardson. That thing was super hyped up. People were looking forward to that and all types of stuff. Especially it's like, okay, here's the American upstart that should have been at the Olympics and probably would have done something, versus here we got the Olympic champions. They swept. Okay, let's see what USA would have done there. Now we don't have to talk about the nationalities too much. We could talk about just who's in the league, this person versus that person, or you could keep the nationality stuff here and say, because the best or the highest point boxer right now is from Mexico, to my understanding. So if you look at it like that, hey, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price comes in there, she wins again, she defends her title. Now, here's another thing that we can do here that we can hype these up. Imagine somebody gets destroyed. Remember this. Remember this. When I said Sharika Jackson enters the chat and I was like, she knocked out the field. Okay, that's the type of stuff you got to do. When somebody's getting blown out, there should be a phrase. If they get beat by, let's say, 0.3 of a second in a 200, you should say this was a knockout blow, or it's a blowout. It should be a standard phrase that somebody says there. That way, just like in boxing or something, when somebody gets knocked out, it's called a knockout. You got the technical knockouts, then you got that. There isn't a standard phrase because people are trying to be a little bit too nice and too quote unquote politically correct. They're trying to do all of that stuff and they're just like, whatever, right? Right? So in this case, you just need to just say it like it is. Sharika Jackson knocked them out. They weren't close. They got blown out. The bricks got blown out of them. Not just that, they destroyed their house, their foundation, and everything, where the other athletes just slow down at the line or that type of thing. You know? This is how you also hype up the thing. Because if somebody said, oh my goodness, Sharika Jackson blew him out, just hyped them up, right? Then that attracts even more people to do it, because when they share that video and say, look, this is what we got, and then somebody can just get excited about it. This is what you see in NFL, whether people like it or not. They're just over there, just always just getting hyped up. Their voice is always like that. And this is how we do it. I want to see track and field like that. My care for sports, very low. Like that's an optional thing for me. But I know I get hyped up when I'm hearing people all hype. I'm looking at cars, the F1, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what the heck they're saying. I'm hearing all this jargon because my best friend told me to look at that. And I'm just like, man, They're like, oh my goodness, he's doing a little turn, blah blah blah, and I'm like, dang, I'm getting hyped up. My bumps, the you know, the chill bumps you get, I'm getting hyped up off of that. We don't need all of that the regular stuff and be like, yeah, they won and whatnot. You know, the British announcers, if you go look at the British trials, somebody ran like a 10:05 or 10:1. They were like, amazing, this is the greatest performance. Like they're doing stuff like that. The British announcers always hyping up somebody. But even still, I don't think they're hype enough sometimes. Could be their voice, because voices and tones of voice actually does. Somebody was talking about Justin Gatlin, and I was like, yeah, he kind of sounds like he's a lot shorter than he is. I'm like, yeah, he kind of sound real diminutive how his voice is, but his voice is just like that. You can still sound really, really good giving your voice. My voice ain't the deepest voice out there, but, and that even may even sound weird, but I don't got the deepest voice either. So I had to work what I got. That's what we need. We need a signal that says somebody got knocked the hell out. And that's what we need to hype these things up in conjunction with this. This is just one of the things that I'm talking about here. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below, because this is the individual section. Remember, I always talked about making it a team sport, but let's say we kept the individual. In general, if you ain't in the top 32, you shouldn't be worried about, I guess you shouldn't be worried about how the money comes in, because you ain't in the top 32. Then it makes sure it's there. We can make it back to a club sport, like when Carl Lewis gave the interview and said, hey, look, they just split us up when we demanded more money. And then, hey, demand more money, we just gonna throw track and field as this, like, you know, everybody should be doing it. The marketing, here's the last thing here. I got 90 seconds left on my timer. Look, the marketing for track and field is at a horrible state. They're like, yeah, we're the base of every sport. I was looking at USA trials and hear commercials saying we're the base of every sport. What? We're the foundation of every sport. No, we can do weightlifting better than NFL players. We're faster than them. You don't need to be the quote base of every sport. We give the fitness to everybody. They're trying to tie in regular everybody's fitness because the world is becoming fat and obese to that. We ain't got to worry about that. And these are sprint events that they're talking about, running the commercials doing that. I'm like, yeah, technically you burn more calories or something doing an all-out 200 than you would run a 5K for most people, especially because if you are able to sustain an all-out, quote, all-out effort in the 200 compared to what you're doing at a 5,000, then sure, it's going to keep burning and burning and burning even after you do that. They have a study, they have some studies that talk about that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, because really here I am looking at this and say this is the aspect of the individual route. And I have a modification of this exact same thing for a team, but I'm not going to give all of that out. I might do bits and pieces. If you guys like this, let me know that you want to see more of this, because sometimes I don't talk about certain topics because I'm just like, quite frankly, if you ain't gonna come out and there's no support for it, there's no point of me doing that. And then some things I just want to cover, so if it's support or not, then I'll do it. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.